Hey everyone, this is Rachel. I am not going to be long on here, but there have been some things that happened in um, the last few days that have troubled me, and it has to do with this doxing. And the one thing that I noticed the last couple days is this thing where people have called Jay Wilson's job. Now, before I get started, I just want to tell you where I have worked, or I'm going to say not where, but the positions I held and why this has bothered me. So, I have worked for several big health insurance companies like Blue Cross, United Healthcare, Aetna. I worked for Medicaid before, and I have also worked in HR. I'm 54 years old, so as you can imagine, over my lifetime, I've had several jobs. Now, one thing before I get started with what's going on with Jay Wilson, one thing I wanted to say is in both of those type of jobs that I had, the one thing that they have in common is they take their members and their employees' personal records very seriously. And the reason why is because if they divulge your information without your permission, your personal information, they could get in big trouble. And trouble for a company is not like trouble for us. Let me give you an example. I just worked for a health insurance company, and through some things that they did, they got in trouble with the state. Okay. And they had to pay two fines. One was $80,000, and another one, I believe, was $250,000. That's $250,000. And they were also threatened with losing their license to practice in that state. That's how seriously your personal information is to these companies. Now, just getting started with what I heard. So I listened to those calls that were made to Jay Wilson's job. And like I said, I have worked in HR. One of the last jobs that I had in HR, because this new one that I'm at, I'm kind of new, so I don't really want to speak on them. But one of the jobs that I worked at in HR, I was the benefits rep for the county that I live in, meaning that if you were a county employee and you had any issues with your benefits, anything like that, I was the person that you would call. So I understand what confidentiality means. Now, one of the calls that I listened to just recently, um, they made a big thing out of the person telling them that he was termed. Now, let me just explain this to y'all. When an HR department says that a person is termed, it doesn't mean the same thing that you guys believe it means. Termination for us means involuntary or voluntary. So, what my next question would have been if I would have been the person that was calling and it was mentioned that Jay Wilson was termed, my next question would have been, was that a voluntary termination or was it an involuntary termination? Because just because that person said he was termed doesn't mean that he was fired, because termination for your HR department, well, the term means something different to us. Another thing that I had a problem with, when you call into either a health insurance company or someone's HR department, the fact that that person on the phone did not verify who that caller was bothered me. Now, y'all, I can't speak of on anything that I haven't been made to do in my own job. First of all, when I worked for the county, requests like that needed to be in writing. Okay. We didn't just divulge people's information without knowing who we were talking to, because a lot of these employers are concerned about lawsuits. And that's why a lot of times when you are calling to verify HR information, they only give you like the days of employment, what position you held, your salary. Some of them don't even want to give the reason why you were were terminated or you left, for fear that they could be sued. They don't even want that, that thing to be an issue. So they don't go into too many details of why you left. Now, y'all, I also worked at a bank verifying employment information when people were purchasing homes. So a lot of this I've done, you know, throughout my life. So when I was listening to that, it just really bothered me. Y'all, there's something called legal liability. Um, it means that an employer is allowed to state some things if they are fact. Now, again, a lot of employers don't want to say that you were fired, even if you were. But what you must understand is they are allowed to say that you are fired. Now, here's how it works. When you work in HR, basically they tell us don't divulge anything that the person didn't ask. So if you didn't actually ask me, was Jay Wilson fired? I could not volunteer that. Now, if you ask me, because just say he was fired, and that is a fact, because it is a fact, I could state it because we are within our legal right as that employer, because he was fired, to state that. Now, I would just say yes, and then I would give the termination date. So that's one thing. But again, y'all, I had a problem with that person that answered the phone that did not request any verifying information from those people that called in. Now, y'all, because this whole thing interested me and it upset me, not so much for Jay Wilson, because again, he's just a fellow content creator on here. I watch his channel and everything, but I don't have any favorites on here. I just watch people that interest me at the time. Okay. But it bothered me because this is what I do for a living. And it made people that work in HR look bad. So because I was interested in what happened with Jay Wilson, I looked into what Texas allows when it comes to you calling someone's job requesting employment verifications. Now, this is what Texas says they allow: the reason for the termination or the separation, but they say that request must be in writing. They will also tell you the person's job performance. They will also tell you their attendance record and their attitudes while they were at the job and the effort they put into the job. So basically, they do give you, if you ask and if it's in writing, they really give a breakdown of that employee's, personnel records as it pertains to their job. Now, the places that I've worked at, they don't go into all that. So I don't know if Texas allows this, but some employers choose not to do it, or if everyone, adheres to what is allowed. Because just because a state says that you can do all those things doesn't mean that every employer does all those things. Now, also, something that some of you probably know, and I don't know if it happens in your state, but this I found interesting about Texas. Within 10 days of receiving a request for an employee verification, Jay Wilson's employer probably sent him a copy of that request along with the names of the people to whom the information was given. Now, I just want to stop here, y'all. That's why I was so concerned that when those people called in, and I'm not going to mention their names, you guys know who called in, they did not give a name. Okay. So when if Texas does this thing where after 10 days they send that former employee a letter stating that someone called in to verify their employment, who are they going to tell him verified his employment? Okay. Now, another thing that Texas, their state says, um, they say that they will not disclose the reasons for the employee's discharge without that employee's permission. So I believe that what happens is they probably have a letter or something that they fax or email to the requesting party to get them to sign it, and the employee, they probably send something to them to get them to sign it before they start releasing anything other than salary, dates of employment, and little simple things like that. I believe that if an employer, a potential employer, or like a credit union or a bank or something needs anything additional, that it needs to be in writing. Now, also, y'all, something else. When you are fired, and y'all, luckily, I've never been fired in my life, so I've never gotten this letter. So just say Jay Wilson was fired. He probably received a written statement with the reason for his termination and the fact that it was an involuntary separation, meaning that it wasn't up to him, they fired him. But on the same token, on the flip side, if Jay Wilson quit, which y'all is a possibility, because like I said, for HR, term does not mean termination for us. It means exactly what it says. That's the date his employment termed, meaning ended. Doesn't mean that he was fired. So I want to keep saying that because people keep saying that when that person said term, that meant that he was fired. For us in HR, that's not what that means. It means that the date his employment ended. It could have been involuntary or voluntary. So Jay Wilson, if he quit, he probably got a letter, like a follow-up letter, stating that his separation for the job was voluntary. Okay. Now, I want to go on and talk about again, neither of them identifying themselves when they called his job. So, y'all, let me just tell you how it works when you work in HR and when you work at a health insurance company. Like I said, they take that shit seriously. Y'all, when we get hired to work in those jobs, if you saw the stack of stuff that we have to sign for confidentiality to protect your rights, you would be surprised. You would be surprised. If you knew how many different little things that we have to take, little tests to test our what we understand confidentiality is. We have these little quizzes periodically, monthly, sometimes, 2, 3 times a month, where they're testing your understanding of what confidentiality means. Y'all, I've taken so many that sometimes I wish I could save it. And when the next one comes out, I just resubmit, keep resubmitting the same one. So the fact that neither of those ladies that called his job identified themselves as, listen to this, y'all, a potential employee, I'm sorry, a potential employer, a credit union, a bank, or any other agency, kind of was bad. Okay. And this is why I say Jay Wilson may have a lawsuit. Now, y'all, I listened to the second call. that one of the ladies made. And the employee that answered the phone sounded very nervous because the first thing she said is I can't divulge any information. I can't be talking about this, and there's an email address that you can email. The reason why is because whoever that first person was got in some trouble. And it tells me that Jay Wilson did call his former employee, and he did state that his information was given out, which he is very much in his right to do. Caramel Libra Girl says, agree, 5 years in HR here, and you are 100. She is right because they do not play with that. So, what that tells me is not only was that person reprimanded, but that HR department had a meeting following what happened to Jay Wilson. Because again, y'all, we're here on YouTube, but there's a real world out there. And just from working in HR, I'm going to tell you something. What those two ladies did, they they have their videos up. A lot of people have downloaded them, and I'm pretty sure that because Jay Wilson has an attorney, that information was downloaded and they now have that. So first of all, Jay Wilson has proof that those two people called his employer. On the same token, at the employer, there are two people now that we have recorded, that we have heard here on YouTube speak to those two ladies. So I'm pretty sure what followed up after this incident, and this is just from my years of working in these type of jobs, there was a meeting had. That person that they spoke to may have been terminated. That's how serious this gets, y'all. That first person that gave his term date probably got fired. Okay, because those calls are recorded. And the very first thing that that supervisor did when Jay Wilson gave a complaint is they pulled that call and they listened to it. And what they were listening for is, did that person provide information about Jay Wilson, his name, his address, his date of birth, identifying things where it allowed them to give the information. Hello, Trina. I'm just getting into what I felt was wrong about what they're doing with this Jay Wilson thing. And like I said at the top of this live, it's not so much Jay Wilson because, like I said, I don't have a favorite here on YouTube. I just watch everybody. But I have worked in HR departments and I just felt it was wrong. And I also wanted to put out there. So if any of you, before I go on, are a subscriber to Jay Wilson, can you tell him to watch my video? And I'm pretty sure that with who Jay Wilson is, he is aware of this. The fact that he has an attorney lets me know that he is aware of his rights. He is also aware that his privacy was violated because what they did is a violation of privacy. And that's very serious, especially when you're dealing with an employer. And I just want to go on. So again, they didn't, identify themselves as any type of, organization that was requesting his information. Now keep that in mind, y'all. Organization. So that HR department releases information without verifying or knowing who they were giving his information to. Okay. So there is something at the Department of Labor, and that's who I suggest Jay Wilson contact. He actually can go down there. I have had to do it against an employee of mine before. And let me just tell you something about the Department of Labor. Because they don't get too many walk ins, when you show up, they are so very helpful. A lot of times people go online to their website and they look for information to find out what their rights are. But a lot of people don't get up get in their car or get on the local bus and ride to the downtown of their city and go in. But I had a situation, y'all, where I had to do that against my employer. And let me just tell you what happened before I end my live and tell you the last bit of information. I had a situation when I was trying to go out on FMLA where my employer would not give me the FMLA papers. Literally, they wouldn't give me the form. What they told me to do is to continue to use my PTO time as, when I need to take off for doctors and x-rays and all of this. But just being around for a long time, y'all, I said to myself, if I use up all my PTO time, and I'm just taking days off without pay. First, that's one thing. And secondly, that makes it easier for them to fire me because I'm missing all these days. So I had gotten with my doctor, I'm having all these problems. And it just got to the point where I said, you know what? Enough is enough. I need to go talk to someone about what's being done to me by this employer. So I looked up, who I should go talk to. Y'all, I did the park and ride. I parked my car, I got on the bus, and I rode downtown. And I went to the Department of Labor. I made an appointment and everything. When I got there, they came out so happy that someone came down and actually, looked into their rights as an employee. When I tell y'all, every person in that office came out to hear my story. They all were giving me tips and things to do and how I should proceed and blah blah blah. So what they told me to do is tell my employer, not to tell my employer that I actually came in. They told me to go home and write a letter to my employee and email it so that I would have a trail. And basically, they told me to threaten my employer, threaten them with the fact that I was going to go to the Department of Labor on them if they did not give me those FMLA papers within a certain amount of time. The Department of Labor actually told me to give them a time. They said, Rachel, if you want those papers tomorrow at 9 a.m., you would set that as the deadline. And once you do that, you sit back and wait. So I did that. Now, before I left the Department of Labor, they took all the details of the case. They told me that they were going to investigate it because I was not the first person that had come down there complaining about this very thing with this very employer. So I went back. I went home, wrote my email, sent it. And y'all, when I woke up the next morning, before 9 o'clock, they had sent me the FMLA papers. Now, going forward with that story, let me tell you what happened. The Department of Labor stayed in touch with me. They wanted to know how my employer was treating me. And I told them that it was getting increasingly bad, that they were being mean to me. I had a legitimate issue. I needed spine surgery, y'all. And, my doctor was telling them all that. So the Department of Labor asked me, did I want them to come into the job and speak to them? Now, y'all, as you can imagine, I was a little nervous because I needed my job and I didn't want them to come in guns blazing and be point me out and be like, her right over there. She's the one that came down. But what they told me is this. They say when we come in, we don't come in naming a specific name. We come in as a Department of Labor. And because of who we are, we force them to open up their employee records. We tell them that we want a history, and I'll just give y'all an example of the last year of everybody who went out on FMLA. We want the records, and we are well within our rights to request those. Let me tell y'all, the day that they came in, when I tell y'all that all day long, because they told me the day that they were going to come in. Now, the job didn't know that I knew, but I knew. The day that they came in, I was so nervous, y'all. I know that my hands were sweaty. Everything on me was sweaty, but I played it cool because, they weren't going to pull anything. The only reason why I bring that up is because when you go to them, The Department of Labor does not play with these employers. Um, these employees get a lot of kick. I'm sorry, the employers get a lot of tax breaks when they operate in a city. So they don't want to play with the Department of Labor. They don't want to be under the microscope. So with that, I'm going to tell y'all what happened when those two ladies called Jay Wilson stop. They It's something called violating the Privacy Act, and that's what they did. When they requested his personal information from, oh, I'm just going to read it because I'm trying to fit this to Jay Wilson and it's not coming out right. So it says violating the Privacy Act by requesting personal information about an employee from a previous employer exposes the requester. I'm going to read that part again. It exposes the requester, meaning the person that is calling in. Now, I'm just going to finish it. It says it exposes the requester to a civil lawsuit from the employee as well as a government penalty. So that is where we are, y'all. Now, they may have thought that doing all this stuff on YouTube, y'all, this is all cute, and they say this is for gags and roast, and we're fact checking and we're popping people and all that. But let me tell you something. There is a real world out there. And because I operate and I work in HR, that was a red flag to me. When I was listening to each one of those ladies' calls, I wish I could have stopped them in their tracks, because they are moving into where, when other people on here talk about lawsuits, some of the lawsuits that they talk about, I think they're frivolous, and I don't think that once they get in court that the court will feel that there's any merit to it. But when you start calling someone's HR department. And that's why I believe that Jay Wilson keeps saying that he's moving in silence. Because, see, not only did you expose Jay Wilson, but you expose that employer. And now they have to make it right with Jay Wilson. They are not allowed to divulge his personal information to any and everybody that call, meaning that Darnell or Keisha down the street not supposed to be calling his job, asking for his personal information. Now, if Darnell works at the local bank and Darnell is calling on official business of the bank, then as a representative of that bank, Darnell or Keisha can call, but not any old Joe Blow off the street. They should not be calling this man's job. What they did, those two women, is they violated the Privacy Act when it comes to the HR department, your employer's HR department, and you. You have rights as an employee. Look at it, y'all. I am I went down against a company. Y'all, I'm not even 5 feet tall. I just knew that something didn't feel right in my gut with how they were treating me. And I felt like when I went down there, if I was wrong, the only thing that those people could say, well, you know what, Rochelle, you in your feelings because you don't feel good. Take your ass home and sit the hell down. Get out our office. They could either have said that or did what they did. And y'all, like I told you, when I went down there, I expected it to be where I'm trying to convince them of a situation and that they were going to be on the employer side. That's not what I got, y'all. I got very much them wanting to hear the full story. They made me take my time, explain. They asked questions. They were writing things down. They were so for me that when I left, because I had been through so much with my job and the HR department, that I was crying, y'all. Because finally, I was in a lot of pain at the time. Finally, someone was listening to me. Now someone put a question and it says, so you can go to a job and ask if someone works there, um, 5A or Tracy. Oh, so are you asking me, can they do it? Or are you just saying that they did it? Well, here's the thing. If the person, if that person that you are asking about, that you're inquiring about, okay, if you call and you don't identify yourself, your employer should make that person who's requesting your information identify who they are. Okay. And once they identify, like just say they say, I am Phi Babe and I'm calling from XYZ Bank. I'm just going to use her name and XYZ Bank. And I need to verify employment for Mr. J. Wilson. And his date of birth is this. And his address is this. Because normally they make you verify at least three things of his personal information. Normally, it's his name, his date of birth, and probably his address. Some people, if you can't identify name and date of birth and address, then they ask for name, date of birth, and maybe their social security number. Okay, so once you have identified that, most jobs only are going to give you the employment dates, the salary, and your term date. Okay, now, if the person who's calling wants anything additional, normally what the job will say is this: we will send you a form that we need you to fill out. We need the request to be in a written form. A lot of places that I have worked in HR, they also send something to that employee, giving them permission to release that employee's information. Basically, what they're trying to do, y'all, is a CYA. They're covering their ass so that employee cannot come back on them later on and file any type of lawsuit against them because the employee gave them permission to give to give out their information. Same thing with health insurance companies. Y'all, I just worked at a health insurance company and we had an attorney call in, his office call in and request, some medical records for one of his clients. And even that attorney's office, what we did is we immediately sent them over a form. We told them what we needed from them to validate that who they were. We told them that we needed something from them on their letterhead. Okay. And we also needed them to fill out our form. So we requested two things. We needed a formal request on their letterhead, and we also needed them to fill out the form that we were faxing to them. That's how serious that these places take this divulging your information, because for them, it could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars of penalties or $1 million lawsuits. Now, I'm not saying that Jay Wilson has, $1 million lawsuit or even a hundreds of $1,000 lawsuit, but he might want to look into what those women at his employer did with releasing his information without his consent and also without verifying who that caller was. Okay. Now, y'all, as far as the doxing on here, I'm a little bit older and I don't understand all of this and what's the point of it, you know? Now, a lot of things are going to start happening where people are going to end up in jail or they are going to be sued out of everything they got. Because let me just tell y'all this, because I know my rights when it comes to my medical records, my employment records. If somebody was to do that to me, I would go to the fullest extent of the law to make sure they never did it to anyone else. Because it's one thing to be on YouTube, but when you start digging into people's personal information, I mean, y'all, this deep. So what if he is no longer at that job? From what I'm understanding, and let me tell you something about when you get to the age that we are and you work in different types of employment. After you have done something for a certain amount of years, your skills become very, very diverse. You could work from home for one company a few hours a week. Let me just tell y'all, in my life, I've had a regular 9 to 5 where I went to work, actually to a building. And I've also at the same time worked part time at home with a laptop given to me by the company, handling cases. So when he says that he has more than one job, some people might look at it like, okay, he has this one job, more than one job because he needs all of this to take care of his home and all that. But y'all, when I had more than one job, I saw it as an opportunity to gain experience doing something else because these people let me work. Basically, here's what they said: you're salaried. So as long as you put in a certain amount of hours a week, they don't care when you put it in. Just say that I agreed to work 20 hours of a week for them. They didn't care if I worked 10 hours one day and 10 hours the next day, or two here, four there, five there. As long as I gave them their 20 hours, they didn't give a damn. Right. So because of that, I was able to go in to work and work my regular 9 to 5, the 8 to 4:30 or whatever I was working, y'all, and then come home and maybe work an hour here, hour there, and maybe, because this is how I would do it. I would come home and work a couple hours, and then maybe get in 10 hours during the week, and then on the weekend I would, knock out another 10 hours, or 5 Saturday and 5 Sunday. And that way I had my little 20 hours that I agreed to pay that, to that employer. So when he says that, he has several jobs, I can believe that because we live in a cyber world, y'all. And when you work on a laptop or you work on a computer all day, some of these big companies, they prefer for people to work at home. You know why? It's cheaper for them. It's cheaper because they don't have to rent office space to have employees in. They don't have to pay utilities. They don't have to pay for phone lines because their employees are working from home. I know big time Blue Cross does that. Big time. I used to work at Blue Cross, y'all. The building was so damn empty, it was like a ghost town. And the only reason why I had to go in is because the certain days of the week is because the job that I had to scan medical records. And they weren't going to let their members' medical records be at my house. They I would go in, the mail would come in, I would scan the medical records, get them all scanned, whatever came in for, a couple of days, and then I would go on home. So there are times when you can work from home. And now, y'all, I'm going to read some of y'all comments because there were a couple of them that I saw that I was just reading. So John Doe 1026 says this is incorrect. It depends on the state. I manage a staff of about 12, and I give employment information about once a month, I guess. You are only allowed to verify employment status. And John Doe, I did say that. I said that some employers will only give your employment dates, the date that you ended working for them, and your salary. They will not give more. But I've also worked at places, because let me tell you, I work for the county and their HR department, and I currently actually work in a benefits office, y'all. So I just don't want to, because when you're currently at a job, you don't want to speak on them. So that's why I'm speaking about my past employment. So you're right. I've also worked at places where if there is additional information needed, say their job performance, that employer will say, well, if you need that much, we need that information in writing. So they will send you a form to fill out. So John Doe, while I agree with you, there are some other situations where HR departments will give out additional information, but it has to be requested in writing. And Lovely by far said he definitely has a legit lawsuit with this issue. I agree. Um, Amina says, I have to agree, privacy violations have occurred. Companies must verify before disclosing employee info. In my state, they're not even allowed to disclose why you are absent for call out day. Oh, I've run into that too. A lot of times, employers, and y'all, I tell y'all, especially if you lying, okay, don't say why you need to be off. You're an adult. You don't have to tell an employer. Like if you have PTO days or vacation days or something, and you need to be out or you're calling off, you don't really need to tell them why you're calling off. You can simply say, I have an issue and I cannot come in today. Okay. And then John Doe 1026 says again, she didn't give any reasoning for his termination, so she's in the clear. Well, John Doe, I don't feel that what she said that he was that he was terminated. She said his employment termed on this date. Now, at the top of the live, I said that when you work in HR, term can mean involuntary or voluntary. And if you work in HR, John Doe, you know that's true. That we use term in both ways. We use it when it's an involuntary termination and also when it is a voluntary termination. So moving on, Amina says also some employees can be in domestic violence. That's another thing. That's true. John Doe says you do not have to verify who the person caller is in order to verify if the person is currently employed. That's false. Again, I said that they will give. Hold on, because I'm not tonight. Not tonight. Uh, okay. So I just had to time him out. I'm not coming on here to argue back and forth with people. I just felt that as someone who does this job for a living and who has done it for several different types of employers. So I work for the city, like your local city, your county. I work for um, other health care insurance companies, and like I said, I'm trying to be careful not to speak about the employer that I currently work in their benefits office. So I've worked for several different types of employers. So he's right in one thing: they all do it different, and different states do it different, and different cities do it different. But there are also federal laws, about what they can and cannot do. And divulging someone's information without their personal, I just, y'all, I'm just saying this. I don't even believe that some people think that this is okay. I just wanted to come on and tell y'all that know this, that because see, when I was sitting here thinking, so I wonder, do people believe that when somebody calls their job, they can get any information? Okay, so Lovely by far, I'm gonna use you by example. After you listen to those two calls, if you listen to them, did you stop and say, I wonder if somebody called my job, what would my job be giving them? What kind of information? Just say one of your friends wanted to be messy and called your job. Would your job's HR just be passing out information about you? That's why I decided to do this live, because I wanted to tell y'all that it doesn't always work like that. You know, I'm surprised that his employer so freely gave out that information and proof that it was a problem, y'all. If this wasn't a problem, why didn't, when they made those subsequent calls, when the alphabet lady over there called, why did that person that answered the phone at Jay Wilson's former employer's office, why did they sound so nervous? Why was she stuttering and saying, "Oh, I can't release any more information. I can't," because you know what happened? Whoever answered those first questions about his employer, they got in trouble. And I'm pretty sure with how these places that I've worked at love to have meetings and pull everybody in and tell you what you're doing wrong. Y'all know how some of these jobs are, that they pulled that HR department into a meeting and went over again, the meaning of confidentiality and what they are allowed and are not allowed to give, to provide over the phone. I'm pretty sure that they did. I have been in those meetings. I have been in meetings where one of us did something wrong. Y'all, let me give y'all another example. Now, this one will be a little more fun to y'all. Like I said, I'm 54, so I've done had a whole bunch of jobs in my life. Y'all, I used to be a travel agent, and I did that with American Express for 10 years with them. I've worked at other agencies, and y'all, I wasn't the travel agent that booked your vacations like Disney and all of that. I was the travel agent that booked businessmen who travel. So we would set up their conferences. If they were flying on a private jet, we would make sure there's a limo there. The whole 9 yards. Y'all know what businessmen do. Okay, y'all, let me give you another example of breaching someone's confidentiality. So American Express, we had a client that was an attorney's. There were a group of attorneys, a big company. Okay, so their employees had gone to New York for a conference, and we booked everything. Okay, so on this particular trip, they could bring someone, be it their secretary, their wife, or whoever they wanted to bring. So one of the attorneys that we booked for, he took who he said was his wife with him. Okay. So what happened is an emergency occurred at his home, and his wife needed to contact him because it was urgent. They really had an emergency at their home. So she called us to find out. She wanted to know again, what hotel were they staying at this time when they went to New York. So the rep that got the call picked up the call, and she said, well, I'll just say they're staying at the Hyatt, blah, 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 blah. So when she called the Hyatt, she said that she was his wife and she needed to be connected to his room. The hotel told her, well, Mrs. I'll just say Smith, you checked in with him. Why are you trying to find him? Blah blah blah. So evidently the hotel realized that the wife allegedly checked in. Let me tell you what happened, y'all. That wife got on a plane and flew to New York. Okay. She flew to New York, went to that hotel, showed her ID, because remember, she has the same name as him. She's his wife. Okay. Got a second key to the room because remember, the hotel told her that she checked in with him. So what she did is she went to the hotel and she said, I lost my key card. They gave her another one. She went up to that room. She waited. Now, of course, he wasn't there with her. He was there with his secretary. He was having an affair. The wife waited in the bathroom. She didn't even wait out in the open. She wanted them to come in and engage in conversation. And from what I'm understanding, y'all, the only nice way to put it is she fucked both of them up when she found out what happened. So at American Express, what happened after that? We were not allowed to give information. We had to call, try to contact that person. Like, just say, if it was me, they would say, well, give me a moment to contact Rachel. Let me just make sure it's okay for us to release that information, blah, blah, blah. And we were even given like a code that if the person didn't know this code, we could not give out that information. Hey, April, thanks for coming in. The conversation was about everything with this releasing of Jay Wilson's personal information. And if you want to go back and watch the replay, but basically what I told the people in the chat is that I have worked at several different types of employers in their HR department. I've also worked at several different health insurance companies, um, and dealing with that whole thing with HIPAA and releasing people's information. So basically, what I told them is, I'm pretty sure that Jay Wilson knows this because he is very seems to be very intelligent. And he always speaks of having an attorney. I'm pretty sure that they have downloaded those videos of those calls that were made, because not only did those calls violate, and this is what I was trying to make the chat understand, not only did those calls violate Jay Wilson's rights, it exposed something with Jay Wilson's employer, where they were not giving out, they were giving out his personal information. Let me use one of the calls, for example, because I don't want to say these folks' names, because I don't want to be in all this mess that goes on here on YouTube, but I'm just going to use the content of the call. One of them kept talking about the product that Jay Wilson was selling, and that person was saying um, that he is out here lying, that he's still employed, and that he do that, and if they send an email and violations. And first of all, y'all, that conversation should not have been had. That employee at his company should have shut that down. See, also something else that we are taught when we work in those types of those positions, we are taught to listen for potential fraud, potential someone fishing for your information. You know, we cannot now any of you who have adult kids, let me give you an example of something that pisses parents off of adult children when they call in. Okay, y'all, just say right now my daughter is 24. And with Obamacare, you can have your child on your medical records until they're 26. Okay? So just say now, I don't have my daughter on mine because she had a better job than I do. She just graduated from college, but just say I had my daughter on my medical records, on my medical. And I called, just say we have Blue Cross. And I called Blue Cross and I said to Blue Cross, hey, look, I need to see about this bill that my daughter got, and I need to find out who this doctor is. You know what Blue Cross is going to tell me? They cannot discuss my daughter's information with me without my daughter's permission. Now, keep in mind, she's on my medical. She is receiving medical because I'm paying for it. We cannot, at your insurance company, if you call about your adult child, unless they give us permission to discuss their personal, it could even be a bill. We cannot discuss it with them. We have to tell them, can you please either get your daughter on the phone to give us verbal authorization, or we can send you a form where your daughter can fill it out. And once she does, we'll keep it on file and we will put your name in her record. So that way, when you call in, we can talk to you. Do you know how many parents get so mad? Do you know how many times, y'all, I have been cussed out by parents, and I'm on the phone like, but I'm trying to tell them, ma'am, this is not me just trying to be, mean towards you or anything. This is HIPAA. We can't. I know you're paying for her medical. I know, because I even had, y'all, I done had so many stories. I even had a one, how black people, after they get mad, they take it there. They was like, you mean to tell me this bitch live in my house and I can't call and find out nothing? I'm not trying to dig into her medical records. I'm paying the bills. And the woman was going off, and I had to let her know, ma'am, I can't give you her information unless she gives me permission. So pretty much, y'all, that's what I came on to say. I am very, I would be very surprised if Jay Wilson does not file some type of complaint against his employer. I'm not going to say lawsuit. I'm not going to take it that far, but complaint at least. Because if you listen to that call, trust me when I say that HR department, they listen to that call too. You know how when you call jobs, these different businesses, and they say your call is being monitored. Y'all, I have even been the person that listens to those calls, who's had the job of having to go back and pull a call and listen to the content of it because someone has complained against that rep. I've been that person and say, "Oh Lord, let me go listen to this girl's call. I hope she ain't say nothing that's got her in trouble because I'm gonna have to tell our supervisor and she gonna get written up." So that's why it alarmed me that employer was so willing to just be passing out his information all left and right, y'all. I don't know. What do y'all think? I'm going to ask this question, and then I didn't plan to be on here this long. I didn't even know this many people would show up. I've never had this many people in the live, but I don't do that many. So what do y'all think? So I'm just going to read some of your comments. Uh okay. One person says an employer who provides this information is presumed legally to be acting in good faith. This means that the employee may not sue. Right, that is true. Tink says this means that the employee may not sue for defamation unless the employee can prove by clear, and her comment sets cuts off. Tink, I think what you're talking about is this: if a potential employer requests anything further than your days of employment, your salary, and what was the third thing I said? I forgot. Okay, just say they request to know where you fired, and you were. It is a fact, so they can confirm it. Now, they can't make up stuff about you because that's when they get into defamation of character. But if in fact you were fired and that potential employer is asking that, they can say that you were fired. Now, some employers will go into the reason you were fired. And some of them, they will tell us to say, we cannot go any further. We can just let you know that they were terminated on blah, 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 blah date. So you're right. And they do that because they are acting in good faith. They are giving information out, but they don't want to be sued. So they are going to be careful about what they give out. And uh, Tink says, convincing evidence. Oh, well, I skipped over. Okay. I'm just reading some of your. Okay, these nuts says they won't even get our college info if you're paying the balance for the student. That is so true. That's another thing because I just had a child graduate from college last year, and even though I was paying for everything, lost keys, everything, they wouldn't give me none of her information. If she did not give me, now mind you, this y'all, my daughter ain't never filled out her taxes. She's never completed her own FMLA papers. I did everything. That way she can get the right amount of money. It won't be no problem. So when I needed to ask questions with the college about, okay, so in this semester, am I paying this, that, and other, blah, 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 y'all. They made, if they didn't have her permission to give me information about her, what I needed to pay, they weren't going to let me pay it. I wanted to say, well, why are you asking her for her permission? Tell her to pay her own damn bill. So you're right. Even when your child is in college, there's certain information that if the child doesn't give you all their information to sign into all those different websites and all that stuff, you're going to be screwed because they are adults at 18. Well, the world says that they're adults and you cannot access their information. Okay, and then she said an employer who provides this answer. Okay, I read that one. And then Okay, Ting Ting says something like convincing evidence that the employer knew the information was false. This means that the employer had information about the employee demonstrating the falsity of the reference, including information. I think I get what you're saying about that. Okay, so Leah says he was making people think he still worked there from what they're saying, so it gets what it gets. Yeah, y'all. A lot of people on here front. A lot of people on here front. And sometimes when you are sitting back, um, and you're just a viewer, and as y'all call it, standing in bushes, I see a lot of things on here that are questionable to me. But you know what? If they like it, I love it. That's why I don't come on here a lot because first of all, right now YouTube is too intrusive into people's lives. This is something that I do for fun. Um, the subscribers that I got the old fashioned way coming on doing videos and and all that. And I don't want to be involved in craziness. I don't get down like that. And I just think that all of this craziness is just that, y'all. It's crazy. So Ruby says, "Hi, Coco and chat. You're absolutely right. I work for Blue Cross. All right, Blue Cross. I used to work for WellPoint here in the city that I live in. I worked for them until they outsourced my job over to India. Then I left there and went to work for Medicaid. Y'all, the day that they told those people they were laying them off, if y'all have been there, I got a sick sense of humor, y'all. They had to have a triage area. People was falling out and everything. People had been there with Blue Cross since they were 18 and they were in their 40s and 50s and had never had another job. And when Blue Cross outsourced those jobs, some of those people actually was passing out, y'all. One man had strapped himself to a damn chair with some of that gray, that gray tape, y'all. They had to call the police and the police psych ward to wheel him out in his fucking chair. He was not leaving. He should have sang that song by Jennifer Holliday, I Am Not Going. Now, Kay said, "Hi, Coco. This is my first time here. Welcome. This is my first time really doing a live that has some people in it, Kay. I usually just pre record. But she says, I manage my parents' rental properties and I often call to confirm potential tenants' employment, status, pay cycle, and pay stub required from tenant. Yes, I I agree because I'm pretty sure when I moved where I move at, I live in a townhome community. They want they the three paycheck stubs. So, and I'm pretty sure they called my employer to verify the amount because you have to make. I think where I live now, you have to make 3.5 times a month what the rent actually is. It wasn't like that when I moved in. Um, 8 years ago, I think it was 2.5 times, but I know now they're making these people make 3.5 times. So they have to verify how much you make an hour. And as April says, and that's letting them know you're the parent. This was a random person not identifying who they're right to know. Right. Yeah. Okay. And then Tink Tink says the employer disclosed the information in reckless disregard for its truth or falsity. And you know what, folks? That's what made me do this video. See, I work at HR. I didn't want people to think that the HR departments across the country are just passing out your information to any and everybody who called. I don't know, maybe that's a small company because sometimes when you work for those smaller companies, that have like less than 500 employees, they have kind of lax rules and it's an in-house thing and they are in there when you call in because it sounded like the girl was laughing and joking and everything, so it may have been relaxed and she forgot herself and just gave some information that she wasn't supposed to give. The point I'm trying to make is Jay Wilson might have like some legal recourse when it comes to that employer because I know how they are when we could do the smallest thing and we're getting a warning, a write-up of this or that. um and it could be for just the littlest thing. So when I listen to those calls, y'all, if you would have seen me listening, I had my hand over my mouth. I actually let me tell you how I even knew that these calls existed, because see, I'm not subscribed to either one of the ladies that made the calls, so I didn't know that they were even out there. I was in Blazin, that young man Blazin's chat today, and I kept hearing them talk about it. So I kept asking questions, and I had even asked Blazin what video was it in, and he didn't want to say the name of the video. He didn't want to give, I guess, that young lady a view. So he just told me it's still up and go to about the 5 minute mark. So the HR professional in me wanted to hear what another HR department was doing. I wanted to hear. So when I listened to the one young lady's call, I was sitting there like, oh Lord. See, where I worked at, they would have fired us on spot. We wouldn't even been able to explain. And they would have said is shut your mouth, no explanation. We have told you that you need to verify, blah, blah, blah. Then when I listened to the second call by, I'll just say, the alphabet lady, I was further, I'm not gonna say alarmed. I was a little shocked, y'all, because it doesn't, the places I work at, it don't work like that. They don't just let any and everybody call in and get your business. Now, there was a guy on here that I had to time out. He said where he works at, they passing out information left and right. I hope y'all don't work where he works at. Um, but y'all, that was pretty much my conversation. I'm just gonna read some more of your comments before I get out of here. Leah Thomas says, Val, you are correct. He doesn't have to say anything, but how he picked all people who were homeless or lost jobs is scandalous. Yeah, you need to watch what you say, because people get in their feelings and you don't know what someone is going through and where their head is and how you might make them mad about, clowning people that are less fortunate. Um, Lovely by far says, right. I don't understand why people think he should have to disclose that. Now, yeah, I think she said the fact that she's trying to say the fact that he no longer worked there, whether he was fired or quit or what. The Duchess says, I refuse to give certain folks nary a click or view. Me too. If I know that they're spewing negative energy, y'all, I don't like drama. I try to keep myself at peace. I'm an empty nester. And if my two teenagers, which my son is 32, y'all, and my daughter 24, if I could go through the teenage years with them and have minimal gray hair, then I'm good. I don't need to invite any more drama in my life. Ruby's lady says, I agree. No content creator has no obligation at all to subscribers or anything. You know, Ruby, I I look at it this way. There have been times that I come on and there is a personal part of my life that I want to share, because I'm thinking about it and I said, you know what? I just want to talk about this. So those parts of my life that I feel that I want to share, yeah, you can question me on it if you do a video, but if you watch a video of mine and I talked about something personal because I put it out there, you can ask me about it. But when you get to going behind the scenes of my personal life or digging into my adult children's lives and, going to, something, y'all, I'm going to say this, and my son cracks me up, y'all. And that's why I decided to do that little show with him. But my son does not take pictures. He is a young 32-year-old person who really doesn't even have, he doesn't know anything about, what is it, Instagram, Twitter, and barely Facebook. He does not do social media. So when he looked at how many YouTube subscribers I had, how many Twitter followers, and blah, 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 he was in shock. He was like, Mom, blah, blah, blah. So the other day I asked him, I said, why you don't go on Facebook and Twitter? Even, I'm almost 60. Well, I'm 54, y'all, but I go on all that. And he told me, he said, look, Mom, I believe that when you are on all those different types of social media, he said, If ever something was to happen in my life, all they gonna do is like they do with all young black males. They're gonna go to my Facebook page and pull up pictures of, and paint a narrative of me. He said they're gonna go look for my tweets and, try to figure out what I mean. And he said if I'm posting stuff on Instagram. In other words, he believes that when you keep putting so much of your life out there, that it's just easier for the government to follow you, to keep, he's a very conspiracy theorist person. He cracks me up. And but some of the stuff that he says when he leaves, I have to think about what he said. And that's one of the things that he said is true. If you were to go to my son's Facebook page now, the picture that he has on there, I think he was 17 or 18 in that picture. He's 32. He doesn't post. I don't even think he has a Twitter account. And I definitely know he doesn't know anything about Instagram. And he not old, y'all. He 32. He now my daughter is a different story. She can roll over in the morning and yawn and take a selfie, that she's just 24. But I think that a lot of times these people come on here too much, you know, and they give they let slip too many things, and they get comfortable with their subscribers. And when they have a beef with somebody, y'all, these I'm just gonna say this, y'all, y'all, some of these subscribers, y'all are funny. Some of these content creators, all I can say is this. I've been watching, even though I may not, you know, do lives and all that stuff, I'm watching. And I'm gonna tell y'all something, I started YouTube about what, 2 to 3 years ago, about 2.5 years ago. Shit has changed. Shit has changed. It was not this bad. Um, 2, 3 years ago, you just had people coming on doing videos and doing their comment. It is some people that I used to watch 2 to 3 years ago that they're involved in beef now, and I'm shocked because they had really good content, and you tuned in to watch them. But now, y'all, they some of the I think that some of the older, and I don't mean in age, but the ones who've been around YouTube a while now, a few years, I think they done got to the point where they're saying, well, if you can't beat them, join them. It does get you clicks and views and all of that. So they just gave up. They gave up. And they're involving themselves or being pulled into some of this stuff that's going on. But I'm gonna tell you this, y'all, it's funny. I don't even, I don't even, I'm not gonna say I don't think it's bad, because some of the situations are really bad. But some of the stuff is, oh Lord, hell with her. You know what, y'all? I made a comment and oh my God. See, this is why I don't, you see what I mean? How many times have y'all ever seen me live? Okay. How many times? I made a comment about a month ago under Tim Blaine's video, and right under, and if you go to my community wall right now, it should still be there. Right under the person that y'all just said who's over there talking about me now, she came under that comment and said that she was going to expose me for being a scammer with a what did she say? You remember when we had the hurricane? The Hurricane Dorian. Well, I had heard a couple content creators when I was on their channels talking about getting together and possibly doing a GoFundMe and sending a little bit of money the for that hurricane. So I was like, oh yeah, because I gave myself personally, but it would have been nice to do it like as the black YouTubers or whatever. But y'all, she came under that comment and said that she was gonna, that she was gonna expose me as a scam artist. What I did is I was like, wait, what now? I hardly even come on uh YouTube, y'all. I'm surprised I still have subscribers because I hardly even come on. But when it's something that I feel passionate about or something that I have some knowledge on, like what occurred with that, I'm gonna come on because people, if it was me and I didn't know anything about HR, you know what I would have been sitting there thinking, like, can people just call my job and find out whatever they want about whatever they want? I didn't want people to think that that's how every job worked. I also wanted to tell you your rights. Remember when I talked about the Department of Labor? When you have a problem, y'all, I wouldn't have known about the ability to go to the Department of Labor had I not been jacked up with my spine and got tired of an employer. Basically, I was telling you, we feel small compared to our employers because they are these big companies, but the Department of Labor is your friend. Remember, I told y'all I went down there and I thought I was going to be just visiting this government agency and they were going to shuffle me along and, okay, well, do this, that. No, they literally took probably a good couple of hours explaining. When I left, I had so much information and my head was buzzing because I did not expect all that. Y'all know how when we go to those government offices, they kind of push us along. I didn't expect them to be that nice. So I just came on today talking about something that I know a little bit about, y'all, because I done worked at the places that I told y'all I worked at. And I just felt like, see, here's where this is why they have a problem because they're doxing, you know, and they don't believe that they're going to get repercussions. It was also a warning to them. Hell, the very peak person that's over there talking about me, while I say I'm not subscribed to her, every once in a while I stop by and watch her and the other alphabet lady too. I watch everybody because I don't know these people. I don't have anything against them. But what I will not do is allow people to think that what they're doing is okay, that what that person in that HR gave was okay. I don't even know how they, in their mind, y'all, trust me when I say it's not a matter of if they're going to get in trouble with this, it's a matter of when. Eventually, y'all do realize all of this is going to come to a head. They are going to mess with the wrong person, and that person is going to have the resources to prosecute them within to the fullest extent of the law. I believe that a lot of people on here talk about that they're gonna sue, but they don't want to go through all the stuff that comes along with it. It takes a long time, it takes money, but they're gonna run into a person that ain't got nothing but time on their hands and they got some money to do it. This because y'all, like I said at the beginning of the video, and then I'm gonna get out of here because I'm gonna go watch the heifer and see what she's talking about. What I'm just saying is this: there is a real world out there, y'all. I am a person who works in HR. I do it now, right now. I work for a company and I am their benefits rep. So as a person sitting here, you know how you keep when I was in Blazing's um in his chat, I was sitting there like, wait a minute, because like I said, I'm not subscribed to them, so I wouldn't have their videos wouldn't have came up. So I was like, wait a minute, they literally called his job, they know it, so I wanted to hear it. And you know what? That I'm gonna tell you like this. Like I said, I'm 54. I done ran through all kind of women in my lifetime. Here's the thing. Other people go back and forth with her. I ain't got the time nor the inclination or the interest. I'm not on YouTube for, I don't know what, some of these people are on here for. It's strictly for fun. I can sign off this thing and not even worry about what's going on over there on her page. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna go over there and look at it. Let her have her moment. Why should I even worry? Because I'm not on here enough to even care. I just wanted to impart some wisdom, from something that I do for a living. And if anybody learned anything in this, then good. If anything, if you ever have a problem with your employer and it's bad and you feel like you're being wrong, call the Department of Labor. And if you feel that it's something that's above your head that you have no control over, because y'all, I'm telling you, when I went down there, it was not what I thought. I thought I was this little old black girl, and I'm gonna go down here. These people gonna just push me along. They might give me a couple of forms to fill out, but it was not even like that. They were so happy that I cared enough to actually get in my car and drive down there that they went out of their way to help me in every way they could. They even brought up stuff that I hadn't even thought of because y'all, we just work at these jobs. We may not know all the laws and rules that they are bound by, because remember, our employers, their laws against and rules that they have to follow. Oh, the Duchess, I'm not going to go over there. Y'all, like I said, I got a 32-year-old and a 24-year-old. I know that there are some women on here that's my age that get into that back and forth, but y'all, I don't even argue with my kids. I don't do that. When one of them gets on my nerves, I'll say, "Let me get off the phone." But you know why? Because they're grown now, and they don't live in my house. And what they think or feel have no bearing on me. So if I feel like that about people that popped out of my body, do you actually think that I give anything that this woman who's you know on here doing whatever? That's her thing, y'all. That's her thing, from what I've been seeing. So with that, everyone that showed up, thank you so much for coming. I never thought in my life that I would have 54 people, because I don't come on YouTube a lot. Y'all take care. And, just be careful out in these YouTube streets. If you're in somebody's chat, don't divulge any of your personal information, because child, they'll be coming after you. If you're a content creator, be careful with what you put out here, because um oh, God loves me more. Don't worry about that. I don't come on YouTube enough for it to even bother me. I just felt the need to come on in this situation. I don't get into that back and forth and all this YouTube drama and all this. I just said, if any of you are Jay Wilson subscribers, you might want to pass on some of this information to him, um, and maybe he can use it. And with that, y'all, you take care. And if I come on live again, whoo, child, oh, let me get out of here, because these people. Hey, you know what? Before I go, I'm gonna say something that I find funny. This is like the Salem witch trials, y'all. This is the reason why I find this funny. See, I can laugh about, because I don't be on here like these people. They live their life on here, y'all. I got a 9 to 5. I got two very active young adult children that are fun and love me and blah blah blah. But when I watch all of this going on, it's like, y'all know how we watch these movies about the Salem witch trials, and they show how like them little girls pointed fingers at these people that they said were witches, and then eventually they killed those people. Y'all, this is what it's like to me. It's like all this running around and screaming and yelling, and people, oh my God, these people are loony, y'all. I cannot even. And she can talk about whatever, like I said, whatever she wants. I'm not clout chasing. I got more subscribers than Jay Wilson. I got more subscribers. And you know what? My subscribers will tell you, it's a couple of them that been rocking with me. I think Lady Tia t-shirts, she was around when I very first started. They will tell you, I very rarely come on YouTube and actually do consistent videos. I might pop in every once in a while, but other than that, I don't I don't know, and especially now with all this stuff that's going on, I've done a couple videos that said that I wanted to come back and be more consistent, but now I don't want to be on here with all this negativity and hatred. Y'all, my kids will tell y'all I am a very peaceful person. Like I don't even argue with my family members because I believe that when you argue, you're gonna say stuff that crosses the line. And when you get back, like just say I'm arguing with one of my siblings. In the heat of battle, we're gonna say mean stuff, but we love each other. And once we get back to each other, after we said those mean things to each other, how do you come back from that? So I don't even argue with my family members, you know, because I care about them and I don't want to hurt anyone because I don't have that energy, y'all. All that tension and all that stuff, I'm not that kind of person. And even when you listen to my videos, you're not going to ever see me on here going in on anybody. You know, a lot of people will say this in jest and they don't really mean it, but I pray for some of these people on YouTube because when you do sit back and you do, and this is all jokes aside, y'all, when you do sit back and you do watch all the stuff that is going on, you realize that it's bigger than YouTube. That right now, our whole world is like in a loony place. The country is loony, the kids are loony, everybody's loony right now. It's just stuff is crazy now. And it's just not here on YouTube. It's y'all been seeing what's going on in the country and all that stuff. I just think that we living in a bad time. It's just not these people on YouTube. It's people you work with, it's people your neighbors, it's everybody. I believe that that life here on God's earth, we go in ebbs and flows. We have good times and bad times, and I just believe that right now everything is bad. Everything is bad, and that's why I don't keep too many girlfriends. I got a friend here, a friend there. I stay close to my family and the people that love me. I don't get into beefs with people, and that's why when one of you guys said don't go over there, I will not. Because I don't do all that arguing and stuff because also too y'all know that takes from you when you carry that much anger and stuff inside you. My kids will tell you this ain't something I'm just saying here. I tell them this. Y'all, I truly live this. My son crashed my car one time and I didn't even yell at him. Like literally, I let him drive to an interview and he tore my shit up. And that happened when he was about 18, 19. To this day, he asked me, Mom, when I came home, why didn't you go off on me? And I said, well, why beat you when you're down? Now, if I can do that with my child and he had tore my shit up, then I don't I don't do. And Lady T is right. Facts, bad energy, it bring you down. When you live, I think that young lady over there, well, she's younger than me. I think they say she's like 48, 49. One thing I know about living to this age, y'all, is that what they say about what you put out is it shapes your life, it's in your head. I cannot have calmness in my life if I'm coming on YouTube acting a fool and on here doing all this stuff. My life wouldn't be calm. So to come on here and be something other than who I am in real life. First of all, y'all would see through it because you would know I'm fake. Anybody, because Lady Tia, I think she's been here since I very first started doing videos, and I believe she would know that I've always come on here in this same voice that I'm talking now. So if I came on one day and I'm popping off and acting a fool and all that stuff, she would know that I'm just doing it for clicks and views. And I don't need that, y'all. I got a whole job, a whole life. Child, hell, I'm 10 years from retirement. Why I want to come on here and be arguing with some people? But with that, y'all, I done talk way more than what I intended. Again, you guys have a great night. And again, anybody, even the people that were mean, thanks for coming over. I didn't know that my little video would cause a little ruckus. Y'all take care. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Take care, and I don't want to stay on long because if it's causing her to be upset, I don't, y'all, it's funny. I don't want to upset the woman. So let me just sign on off. Y'all have a good night, and I guess I'll see y'all around. Bye bye now.